All right, so today's class is going to be on the TnS indicator. It's going to be a guide for all things about the TnS indicator, how to use it, and what are the best settings that I recommend for it as well at the very end. So stick around for the end, and I'll tell you guys what I highly recommend for you to use for the indicator. So as you can see on my screen, it's completely blank. The only thing that I have is basically the TnS indicator, a watermark. But for now, we're just going to talk about the TnS indicator. And right now I have it set to the default settings. As you can see, we're going to walk through what all of these settings mean, how to best use the indicator for your needs, just what everything means. So jumping right into it, the first thing on our screen that we can see for the indicator is the stop loss. It says stop loss points 35 and it says FVG Edge offset for 3. That right there, you do not need to change. So anything up top here, these two things, you do not need to change. Don't worry about this because it's going to mess with your settings. It's going to do things that you do not want to do. This right here represents your stop loss, 35 points for a reason. It's not random. I highly recommend you keep this the same. Please do not change it because you'll have drastically different results when you try to trade TnS, and it's not going to be good for you. And then the edge offset simply means that's where you're looking for your FVG or your entry to be 3 points away. So as you can see right here, this setup was never tagged in. And if I measured this, it's 3 points away. Now, if you mess with this, if I change this to about 1, you can see it adds an extra entry there because now what it's looking for is just a higher low that overlaps with just 1 point away. And once again, do not change this. It's the way it is for a reason. I'm going to change it back to default now to 3. That's the way it's supposed to be. Okay, do not change this, please. Now, moving on to trigger alert on setup. Okay, this is how you get your alerts for TnS. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to check this box to trigger the alert, but that's not the only thing you have to do. So when you want a TnS to give you alerts when it's about to tap into an entry, you check this box and you press OK. And then what you're going to want to do is you find the TnS indicator wherever it is on your screen. It should be at the top left. You press these 3 dots here, and you press Add Alert on TnS, the very first one. Add Alert on TnS. It's going to bring up this little window here. Do not change anything within this, okay? Do not change anything here. All you do is press Create, okay? The cool thing about this is you can set alerts for whatever time frame you're currently on. So right now I'm on the 5 minute. As you can see at the very bottom here, it says 5M right at the very bottom. It's kind of hard to see, but this is the 5 minute chart I'm on. If I went to the 15 minute and I press these 3 dots here and I press add alert for TnS, you can see it says 15 minutes now right here. And if I press create, it would do it. Now I'm not going to do that here. I'm going to go back to the 5 minute. And now once you press add alert and you press create, you can see this says 5 minutes. It's going to show me alerts only for the 5 minute. That's what you want. You press create. The way you can confirm the alert is actually on, of course, is wait for a setup to be tagged in. It's going to give you an alert. The way you can double check that is if you go to your right hand side on TradingView, you find this little time clock looking icon. It says alerts. You press it. It's going to look something like this. You can see I have 2 of them active. It's because I pressed create twice. But you really should have 1, so I'm just going to delete this one. But it should say active. Okay, active is how you know it's working. Okay, that means it's on. It's going to send you an alert whenever there's a TnS setup being entered in. It's going to give you an alert. The only way to get rid of the alert, okay, even if you uncheck this box and press OK, it's still going to give you alerts. Even if you remove the indicator, it's still going to give you alerts, okay? What you have to do to stop the alert is press either pause here. You can see it says stopped, or you simply delete it right here where it says delete, okay? That's how you get rid of it. And then once again, to add it back, you have to make sure this is checked. Trigger alert on valid setup. You press OK, and then you press the 3 dots, and you press this again. You press create, and it should pop up again, like that. You can see it says active once again. To exit this window, you just press the little time clock icon, and now we have our alerts set on. Okay. Now, moving on, we have our version 2 entry mode. Okay, this puts you on version 2. And once again, you may be wondering, well, Plio, what is version 2? Let's find an example. This right here would be a TnS version 2 setup. It's a bearish candle that overlaps with a bullish FVG. That is version 2. Okay. Now, technically speaking, it's also version 1. You maybe also be wondering, well, Plio, what is it on when this is unchecked? When you have this unchecked, it's by default on version 1. Okay. And you can still see that entry still there. What that means is that it's technically both. Okay. I'm not really going to get into like why that is. Just know the indicator does all the work for you. Sometimes it's going to be both, but I recommend having this on version 2. And I'm going to go over what I recommend at the very end as well, but I recommend you have this on version 2. The very next thing is the filters. It filters negative R setups. So for example, say this one gets tapped into. You see our table is very small. We'll get to that in a minute. But the TP here, if I measured this, our TP is for 37 points. Okay, that's positive R because TnS is risking 35. You're going to make 37 here in this trade. Say, for example, your TP was only about 24 points. For example, let me go back because there was an example here for about negative R. So you can see I have it checked right now. It's going to exclude negative R setups, which means it's going to not show setups that aren't quite 35 points or more. If I check this off, you can see now there's a setup here for 24 points. Okay. And the table, it's really hard to see up there, but I'm going to show you how to make that bigger in a second. Our stop loss is 35 points. Our TP is 24, which means it's a negative R setup. You can have the option of having that checked or unchecked. Okay. I recommend having it unchecked so you can see more setups, but it's up to you. And you can see this once again is for 24 points, and it does get TP eventually right there. And once again, it's completely up to you. I recommend you have it unchecked so you can see more setups, but it's up to you. Now moving on to filter weak stop loss setups. Okay, I recommend you have this unchecked as well. What this does is, say we have a big fair value gap, something like this, and then there's a long setup inside of it like this. Maybe there's 2 entries. We'll just keep it at 1 just to keep it simple. Say the FVG is so big to the point where a 35-point stop is within the FVG. So what we're looking for is the FVG to be pretty big, and our stop loss is still within the FVG. When you have this option unchecked, it's going to still show you the setup, even though the stop loss is within the FVG. When you have this checked, you can see there's an alert right there. It's in live time. When you have this unchecked, it's going to show you the setups that have the stop loss within the FVG. When you have this actually checked, it's not going to show you this setup. It's only going to show you one where the entry is somewhere down here and the stop loss would be outside of the FVG, giving you higher probabilities of winning the trade because your stop loss is beneath the FVG where price should hold anyways. Whereas if you took it up here, price could still just be within the FVG, ranging, and then you get stopped out while the FVG still holds, right? That's why you would maybe want to have this option checked. But once again, if you have it unchecked, you're able to see more entries. So it's up to you once again. Now, really quick, I do want to look at the setup that just got tagged in because I did get an alert just to show you guys it does work. Right here, you can see as soon as we tap the FVG, what has a potential entry, you're going to get an alert. As soon as it taps it in, you're going to get an alert. Okay, and you can see it's for 39 points. So that's going to lead me into the next part. Okay, all this stuff right here is fully customizable. This is your appearance. This is where you can change the color of your FVG. You can change it to whatever color you want. Let's just test it out here. Change it to blue. You can see I made it to now the FVG is blue. Fully customizable. Once again, I'm just going to reset it to default. And so the TP line, stop loss line, entry line, all customizable. You can change it whatever you want, solid, dashed, or dotted. It's up to you. So if I change the entry line here to solid, you can see it just changed it right there. If I change it back to dotted, it's a bit different. It's how it is by default. And you can change the width if in case you can't see it. I'm going to change the width to TP as well. I'm going to change the width of that a bit thicker, everything a bit easier to see. You can see it's a bit more easy to see now. Now, the only thing with making these lines thicker is if you zoom in, sometimes when you make it a bit too wide, it's going to take up 2 ticks of space or maybe more. The thing you have to do there is you have to make sure that your entry is where it's actually telling you on the table, because sometimes your entries and stop loss will be a bit too big where it takes up 2 ticks, and then you're going to have it the wrong spot, and maybe TnS gets tagged into the tick. You may miss it because the appearance may be a bit too wide here to the point where it's hindering you from actually getting the correct prices. The next part is how you can customize your lines. This would be all the lines to extend them even further. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this from 3 to about 10, change this to 10 as well. All it does is make the FVG box a bit further along, these stop loss lines, everything a bit longer, so it takes up more parts on your screen. Now, for the final part here is our table. Would be up here in the right hand corner at the top. You can make this big or small. Right now it's very small. I'm going to change this to large. That's what I recommend as the best. You can see it's a lot easier on the eyes. You can also customize the color. If I wanted to change this to black, you can see it's black now. But we're just going to keep it gray. But I like it large because you can see it a lot better. You can also change where it is on your screen. Maybe this is too inconvenient for you at the top right hand side. Maybe you have another indicator there already. Or you can change it to the center of your screen at the top. You can move it to the bottom of your screen. You can see it's centered at the bottom. You can change it to the left hand side as well, just like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reset it back to default at the top right hand corner. And now that's pretty much it for the entire indicator. Do not mess with this at the bottom here at all. Leave this how it is. It's basically just a placeholder. So now I'm going to talk about these tabs up here. Okay, do not change anything here on style side. Don't change anything there. We need all of these things checked. But visibility is what may be interesting for some of you guys. Okay, so right now, TnS shows up on every single time frame. If there's an available setup, you can see I'm on the 15-minute now. Once again, the time right down there. I'm on the 15-minute. It shows me a potential TnS entry. Even if I went down to the 1-minute, okay, it's going to look for a potential setup. Right now, there's not. Maybe there was at somewhere else. Right, there's a setup down here. Right, it's going to show me on the 1-minute. The visibility thing, if you uncheck every single one of these except for minutes, and say I only wanted to show TnS on the 5-minute, I'm going to change the left side to 5, the right side to 6. Okay, what this does is the left side means it's going to show you the time frame that you want. The right side is going to be the cutoff time where you don't want to see it. Okay, so I want to only see this TnS indicator on the 5-minute, and I press OK here. Change this left side to 5, right side to 6. Now it's not there on the 1-minute, and you can see it shows this little orange eye looking thing. That means it's blocking the TnS indicator from working on this 1-minute time frame. But if I go back to the 5-minute here, it's still going to show me TnS. And if I go to the 15-minute, that same setup is no longer there because it's only showing me on the 5-minute. And once again, you can customize that any way you want. Maybe you only want to see the 5 and the 15. So let's change this to about 15. It will now show you TnS on the 15-minute, and that's the cutoff. If I go up to the 30-minute, it's not going to show me anything. The cutoff is now the 15-minute. So you can customize that any way you want to show any time frame you want as well for visibility. Now let's talk about the recommended settings that I truly recommend everyone to use. Okay, so what I recommend is to trigger alerts. So once again, you check this, press OK, then you go to the 3 dots up here, you press add alert, it's going to be there. I recommend having that on. I recommend having version 2 only. Let's talk about why I recommend version 2. And to do that, I'm going to go back to replay mode. So right about here. So let me reset my settings so it looks kind of normal. I'm just going to have trigger alerts on, V2 on, uncheck exclude. That's what I also recommend. I'm going to show you now why I recommend V2. So first I'm going to have it unchecked just to show you what it looks like. You can see there is 2 entries here with version 2 unchecked, which means we're on version 1 right now. Because remember, by default, it's going to be unchecked. That means you're on version 1. You can see there's 2 entries here, one here and one here, which means version 1, you can take your pick because you can take your pick on if you want to choose the lower entry or the higher entry. Okay. If you enter the lower entry here, 35-point stop, it gets stopped out. The lower entry gets stopped, okay? Now, once again, you can actually take the higher entry because you would take your pick. You could have still picked this higher entry. But with version 2, if I switch this now, if I go back, for version 2, you can see there's only one entry and it's the only one up here. And this is the one that actually held. It completely ignores this one because TNS version 2 acts as a filter to version 1. Version 2 is only looking for the bullish candle that overlaps with the bearish FVG or vice versa, okay? Once again, the indicators has it all built in. You don't even need to know what that means. All you need to know is that you need to have version 2 checked. That's what I highly recommend. And once again, to have exclude negative R setups unchecked. Truly, that part is up to you for the exclude negative R. Maybe you just don't feel like it's worth it to have extra setups there. But I recommend you have it unchecked just so it gives you more opportunities. Okay, because the negative R setups do tend to have a higher win rate. Okay, and sometimes they even give you 1R once you hold a runner. But once again, going back to this example, if you have version 2 checked, you can see it's basically a snipe. Okay, and you enter there, short there, and then your TP is, let's go back. You can see the table is very small. Let me bring the table. Once again, how you bring the table to be more visible, you just go down here. It says info table, text size. You change this to large. Let's make it huge so we can really see it. Okay, so it's really big now. And where's our TP? Well, you can hardly see that green line. What do? You scroll down here and you change your TP line to 2 or 3. You can also make it easier to see like this if you just change all of them to 2 or 3. I highly recommend you just leave the entry line as it is at 1 and the stop loss line maybe at 1 or 2, but I do recommend having a TP line at 2 or 3. It's up to you. And then you can also extend it. This is also up to you. I don't really have a recommendation for that. But what I highly recommend is you have the trigger alerts on, the V2 entry mode on, these two unchecked. It's actually the second one is up to you as well. Filter weak stop loss setups. Me personally, I have it unchecked, but it's truly up to you. If you feel like you can have a better, higher probability, keep it checked. Okay, and it's going to, once again, what that does is if the FVG has a stop loss within it, like if the FVG is huge like this, and there's 2 entries, so like this, 35-point stop is still within the FVG, okay? And if we hold this FVG, you know, we could dip down somewhere in the lower half and still hold the FVG, and then you get stopped out. But if there's a lower entry and it covers the entire FVG and the stop loss is outside of it, that's what that filter does once again. And so I actually would recommend you have that checked so you can have higher probability setups. But once again, you will miss setups if you have this checked. So it's kind of a balance. It's up to you. That's why I say it's up to you. Me personally, I have it unchecked. But if you're new to TnS and you want to play it safe, I would have this checked actually. But once again, if you want to make the TP line easier to see, let me just turn it back to 1 so you can see just how hard it is to see when it's at 1. You know, you can barely see that green line, but then you change it to 3, it's there. Okay. Now, one thing I do want to talk about is the indicator will go away sometimes. If I switch this back to version 1, the indicator is going to go away once that first entry goes and gets stopped out. So the indicator, it's in this right here, it's in the short. As soon as it hits the stop loss, it's going to go away. This bear setup is going to go away, as you can see. But the bullish setup is still there. It's doing that to conserve your chart, okay? It doesn't want to make your chart look too cluttered, so it's going to go away. There is no way to keep it on there. Right now, there is no way, okay? It's for your own safety as well, so it doesn't make your chart look too confusing. Now, it also will go away if we inverse this bearish gap, but the play is still on, right? Because say you're in version 2, you only see this entry anyways. The play is still there, but it's just going to go away. So you would have to manually know how where TNS is, basically, to stay in this play, or just already be in, because you're already in with the indicator, it just may go away since we inverse the gap. But you're still in the play, and it does get TP. Now, this long setup, of course, doesn't really go too well. It gets stopped, and you can see it went away. What does that mean? It just means it got stopped out. And I've already talked about this before. This is pretty much TnS's only flaw. Sometimes there's longs and shorts, but truly the only thing you can do is take them in chronological order or how they present. And if you took this in order, you would be in the short first, right? Because the short setup is here. You would be in the short first, which means you wouldn't even have time to be in that long setup because it forms as we're getting to the short. And so technically speaking, you wouldn't even have to worry about the long failing because you'd already be in the short here and probably taking profit for 63 points. But yeah, guys, that's what I recommend for the settings here. Basically, trigger alerts version 2, this unchecked. This second one, filter weak stop loss setups, up to you. I recommend having the TP line at least 2 or 3. Stop loss line up to you again. Entry line up to you. This part up to you as well, because all it does is extend the FVG lines. If I change this to maybe 25, you would see it covers a lot more of my screen now. You see it just extended it. It's up to you. And of course, show info table, I would recommend having that large. I think that's the best one. And everything else is up to you. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the class on how to use the TnS indicator, and let me know if it helps, because once again, there are some settings that are up to you. It's up to you how you best want to use it, but I hope it helps you use the indicator a lot better and understand TnS better. But thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.